All right, so let me share our slides for today. And adjust your pictures here. So here we go. Okay, so welcome to your last module, module 5 of the Family Constellation Virtual Training. This is titled Essential Healing. Essential Healing because it's a little bit of a word game. First of all, my clinic, when I came to New Zealand, I named Essential Healing because I think the healing modality of family constellation is quite essential. It's kind of like most essential of all. And secondly, I started to integrate in one-on-one sessions essential oils, which works very well. So this is like a little word game. So I'm going to convey to you in this module how you work in one-on-one sessions. This has multiple reasons, and I think I have said that before, but I will repeat it again. As far as I know, Bert Helling has not worked one-on-one. He has developed family constellation as a modality that is conducted in workshops. Yeah. However, there is a need in people to, have a personal coach. For multiple reasons, we go through all of this here. And most of family constellation facilitator experienced ones that I know, they offer one-on-one sessions. And it is on demand because the demand is there, right? So this is not quite original Bert Hellinger, but this is what I do since 15 years, the way I do it, right? Which works very well. And obviously, whenever we work with family constellation, we integrate the orders of love. There is no difference. Okay. Okay, so what are we doing in this weekend is today, part 1, we are talking how to design a one-on-one session and how we use figurines in a one-on-one session. And this weekend is full of exercises, so it's not much theory, it's more the practical aspects of it. And then tomorrow we are looking at what I call, it's kind of my invention, internal constellations and other tools you can use other than figurines in one-on-one sessions. So, part 1. First of all, we talk about why do we provide a one-on-one session now that you know that it is not original in Bert Hellinger's methodology. There are reasons that we go through. Then we look at the pros and cons because there are pros and cons. And if you have a choice, you have to consider them if you have a choice between workshop and one-on-one sessions. We will talk about the setup of a one-on-one session and what props you want to have, or what I would use. Then we are actually designing a one-on-one session, and you get to design in the exercise a one-on-one session. That will be our exercise before the break. And then after the break, I will show you the use of figurines and other objects, because obviously in one-on-one sessions, you don't have other individuals to represent family members. So now you need objects to do that. And then we have a training session, and I show you how I do that with my figurines, and how you could do that. Okay, so let's go on the first question. Why do we even provide one-on-one sessions, since it is not originated in Bert Hellinger's teaching or work, I have to say, not just the teaching. It is the best way to start using family constellations in a one-on-one situation, because very simple and practically, it will be very difficult to get a group together to start with. But it is not difficult to ask your sister, your brother, your cousin, your bestie, your partner, your mother, or whoever is close to you to be a guinea pig for you. That's not difficult, right? So this is why I say it's the best way to start to practice. However, it's not the easiest way. It would be a workshop would be easier for you, right? But it is not likely that you will have like workshops to practice with people. So it's the easiest way. And remember when we talked last month, we talked last module about the friends and family circle. That's exactly where you get a group together where you can practice, right? But still, you need much more practice than just this monthly or bi-monthly gatherings, right? So this is where friends and family come in handy, right? Okay. You can also the reason why we want to provide one-on-one sessions is if you're already in the field of healing or naturopath, or if you do already counseling or coaching or anything like this, you can so easily integrate family constellation and all you know about it into your existing sessions with the tools of one-on-one. And this makes it very valuable as well. So you don't need to tell your clients to come to a workshop that you might in the future provide. You can do it right there when you have the client in front of you. You can also, if you're already working with other persons in this coaching situations, you can already use objects like the figurines in the initial conversation. Like your client would talk about his situation and lots of people playing a role, maybe a family situation or something. And then you say, hey, hang on, I just want to follow you, and you have your board there and you say, please choose figurines for all the people you're talking about, right? So I can memorize them, where you're talking about, and and put them on the board, and you're already in the middle of a family constellation without even knowing it, right? So that's and that's a good thing. You don't even need to say to your client you're doing a family constellation, but for you, you know it, and there is a movement. You can help the client already with the movement here in the right direction towards healing, without he or her even knowing it has already happened. They still think you are listening to what they say, but in fact you're already moving the field, or let the souls move in the field. And also the one-on-one session can be a great introduction to family constellation, because as you know, it's really hard to talk about it and explain it, but it is much easier to demonstrate it. And if somebody can experience for themselves how they how they feel, how they shift inside when they have just a little bit of a constellation going on, and that's that is explaining more than 1,000 words. And also, and that's a biggie actually, some people just don't want to go to workshop. Just, you can tell them, look, you don't need to use your name, you can use another name, you don't know any one of these people. Why, there's nobody from your workplace or whatnot, it's completely anonymous. And then they still think, oh no, I can't reveal my inner demons or whatnot in to other people. However, it is very likely, if they are hooked on because they feel the effect a one-on-one session has, then that they eventually come to a workshop. So this is also a reason to provide one-on-one sessions for those people who otherwise would never, ever have the benefit of a family constellation, because they just would not go to a workshop. So, what are the pros and cons? So, start with the pros. In a one-on-one situation, you can focus on the individual. There's nobody else. When we went through group dynamics in last module, there's a lot to what you have to have, in your in the back of your eyes, so to speak. You have to always to have you have the group there. You have to be aware of group dynamics. You have to be aware of anything, any energies going on in the group that is might jeopardizing a constellation or judging one of the participants or whatever. There's a lot going on when you lead a group. You don't have that in a one-on-one, obviously, so this is completely not there. So you can completely focus on the individual, and that is easier in this regard, right? That's easier. You have also the chance to work on more than one issue, because when you have a workshop and you have, like, let's say 10 people, and you barely know how to get through 10 constellations in a day, then you cannot possibly, if something comes up in a constellation, work like on two issues with one person. That's just no space for that. However, in a one-on-one situation, that can happen. So at least there is a chance for it. I don't say that you should do that or that is often, but you have the chance to do it. Some people are just so shy. They would go to the workshop and they would never raise their hand when you ask who wants a constellation, because they just can't. They are just shy, right? But when they come to a one-on-one consultation, obviously they have no place to hide. So, at least you can work with them. You are flexible with appointments, because you know how often that is when you have a group event. You have people say, "Oh, I wish I could come, but my mother-in-law's 50th birthday is at that," whatever. There's always so much going on in the lives of people, and then they can't come, although they really, really, really want to come. So anyhow, that's also a matter of priorities, of course. But anyhow, so now you can offer time slots that are suitable, and people can choose it, so that's more convenient, and that's definitely a pro for a one-on-one session. It's easy to integrate in an existing coaching sessions. This, when I say that, what I just said before is, like, if you're already working with any kind of clients in any kind of healing or coaching or consulting situation, you can say, okay, how about if you have an ongoing relationship with your client, how about today we do a family constellation? Let's do something different, no? And if you know your client and you work with them for a long time, they will be very intrigued to try something new, of course, right? So that's definitely a pro as well. And then overall, if you are doing something else, like you provide massages or energy healing, Reiki or whatnot, or essential oils, aromatherapy, you can combine it with a family constellation, right? Combining meaning you do like half an hour what you do already and another half an hour family constellation. Instead of doing just 1 hour massage, you offer your client, let's do half an hour massage and then we do another half an hour family constellation. Yeah. So that's the pros that I can think of, and more than anything else, client confidentiality. My personal experience is with people who are saying my problems are so intimate, like so embarrassing, or so, I don't know, it's so dark, I can't share with anybody else. They have normally a big problem with an ego mind, right? They think that their problems are much worse than anybody else's, which is obviously not the case at all, right? But this is already giving you, somebody is talking like this, you already know, where you start, basically, right? Where this person is, obviously you will see it on a board. They will choose a big figurine for themselves and a small for their parents. I guarantee you that, right? So you know already here where to start, right? You have like the children relationship, an interrupted movement towards the mother or the father or both, right? Or something, or an entanglement. So all right there, you know there is a breach of the orders of love. So that's actually good. Somebody tells you that, you know, aha, now I know where to start. So what are the cons of a one-on-one session? First of all, and that is, I really urge you to be honest, this is a big temptation. You talk instead of working with the field, right? Because in classical one-on-one constellations, you talk, right? You talk with your client. That's counseling, or in psychotherapy, they talk. And you listen and you take a question and you steer, you know. This has nothing to do with family constellation. And obviously also not with a family constellation in a one-on-one consultation. You have to be very focused and say, okay, we talk for 5 minutes, you know, put the watch, the timer on something, and then you stop talking and then you work. And also while you work, don't talk. It's like in a workshop, don't allow your client to talk all the time. Nor do you talk and explain anything. You work with what you have learned. You work with the movement of the morphogenetic field. You work with the family system. You work with the representatives of the family system. Yeah. You are not talking with your client just because it's one-on-one. You always have to think, if that would be a workshop, would I say that or not? If that would be a workshop, would I allow him or her to say that or not? Right? And then you got to stop it if this is happening. The other big con is you have no other people to help as representatives. And this is why one-on-ones are more difficult, because you need to get all your clues from one person, which is your client. But of course you have help, because we will go through that, especially if you use the figurine board. Of course they actually talk. But it's a different way of conversation that you have to get used to. But obviously it's not so easy accessible as if you would ask a representative, how do you feel, where do you look, you know, and all this clues you get from the field. This is why I say it's more difficult to have a one-on-one consultation, but it's more accessible to start with. Right. So I still recommend it, you know, and just do it lighthearted and do it with friends and family. Of course, you don't charge for it, and see how you know, and gain your experience with it. The other one is one-on-one situations open you up to be manipulated by your client. They love to do that, right? Because most clients who want only a one-on-one and don't want to go to the workshop, not only because they think they have so dark secrets, but also they know in a workshop situation they cannot manipulate everybody. But they know in a one-on-one they can, or they think they can manipulate you, or at least control you, right? They do think that. They probably wouldn't admit that, but they do think that. What are you doing in this situation? You are just don't care, because you're not working with your client's ego mind. You are working with the morphogenetic field. And he or she can have whatever they want to have, right? That is not, it's just you don't care. You just don't care. You just do your work. And it's like if you would play ping pong and your client would always, you know, throw the ball at you, that would be like a manipulation, and you would just step aside. and the ball would just go into, into nothing. And then you play your ball. That's the work with the field, right? And you can do that 3 or 4 times, and he or she, they will give up. They are not continuing to do that for a whole hour. Not that I know of. It's just an attempt of the ego mind to control the situation, to manipulate you, so you feel sorry for the client. Right? But in truth, they don't want that. The soul doesn't want that, because they come to you for healing, not for comfort. Right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be with you. They would be with, they go to a priest or whoever listens, or somebody, or they go to a bar and get drunk and talk to the bartender about the problems, right? No, they come to you because the soul is guiding them to work on a deep level, right? But the ego mind is not letting it at the because it's a one-on-one situation, and the client is talking, and so things can go their way. So always think, when this is happening, of the ping pong game, and step aside. Let it just run out. No resistance, no fighting, no nothing. Just let him talk, and then you start new. And always think about it. And you can actually practice that in every single situation in your day-to-day life, that you, with everybody you meet, you choose if you answer their questions. Have you ever done that? We are so programmed to think we have to answer questions. If somebody says to you, "How are you?" you think you have to say yes or good or no or not good or whatnot. How about you just smile? How about you say, "How are you?" I do that actually often without answering it. What? I may don't want to reveal how I feel, and I don't want to lie neither. Or I just don't want to answer a question. It is really important. If somebody is coming up to you, I'm just trying to get some good examples together. A random person on the street, and you are there, and I don't know, you are eating your sandwich or whatever you do, and then this random people come up to you and say, "Ooh, that is do you know that this is not healthy," or something, anything, yeah? Do you feel you need to, fight for it or respond to it in any way? You can also smile at him and not say anything. It feels awkward, but it is a great exercise. There is no law that you need to answer anybody's question. Not even, don't need even to answer the question of the police by law. You don't need to answer the question other than who you are, your identity. That's all. No. So it's really this reflex to answer. So if you are practicing on a daily basis to choose if you want to answer a question or not, it's also great exercise for awareness, that you are not, being in a random conversation, that you are aware of what you hear and what you say, and you choose. This question I answer, the other question I just smile. And then you are much better in a one-on-one situation when your client tries to manipulate you, because you just let it pass. You smile whatever they say. You don't feel the need to answer to their questions. And then you start your work once they have, played all their balls, and they are gone. They only have like 5 balls or something like that. And that's it. And then they played it and done. And then they're exhausted and they don't know what to. And then you take the lead, right? And everything else simply doesn't count, because this is a different situation to any kind of counseling. family constellation is a very particular way to work. Yeah. And in a workshop, this is easy because you are in the leadership seat. You explain how it goes, and everybody's following, most following anyhow. And if you have the oddball who's not, they feel odd because they are not, they see what others are doing, so they adjust. But in a one-on-one situation, especially with somebody who has never had a family constellation before, that's not how it goes. A different situation to be manipulated by the client is if when the client has the urge to talk about his situation in great depth. And I have to say, that is not manipulation. That's just the urge. You know, they have never talked about that to anybody else. And now here you are. And now and you're a neutral person. And now they feel like they can open the gates are opening and everything is gushing out. That's okay, especially if the client is new and it's the first session. Just let them talk. That's fine, because I really need to get that off their chest. And this is also why the first session with a client might be longer than normal sessions, because you have this extra 15 minutes where they just need to talk. But I would not answer to them. I would just let them talk. And they have a lot to say. They don't even realize that they talk for 15 minutes and you don't say a word. Because this is, this is built up for so long. That's totally okay. That's not a manipulation. That's just they want to get it off their chest, and then it's off their chest. A manipulation is when he said, and then he said, for example, they ask you about your life. Like, do you know what I mean? Have you experienced it? And then they want to reverse the whole situation. This is more manipulation, to take over the lead. Or steer you in that you take sides. So let's say they have a partner issue. Let's say they are separated, and then they want you to take their side. Like, don't you not think my husband is bad or mean, or he shouldn't have the children, or something like that, So that's the trap to fall into. That's a manipulation. So this you would just smile and say, I have no opinion. I'm not here to have any opinions, right? So that's a manipulation. If the client is just eager to talk, that's fine. But then, of course, you have to take track of the time, and then at a certain stage, you have to say, okay, fine, so let's start to work. Okay. Overstepping time frame is easy when you let the client talk. That's what normally happens. So just be always aware. That's in one-on-one situations, when you have only the client, it's so easy to just, give them extra time, extra space, and all of a sudden, like I said, you had an hour, all of a sudden it's 1.5 hours. And why is that not good? Is because you have to hold the energy over the whole time, right? It's also in a certain way a little bit unprofessional to not stick to the time frame. So people think, that you have all the time of the world, and there's nobody else that you need to attend to, right? I would not recommend to open that up. So, but this is why, if you have a new client, make extra time, say from start with, that's okay. We have 50 more minutes. It's the first time, and then make it 15 more minutes, but not more. The cons of a one-on-one is, of course, you don't have the group support. Now we had that on the other side. You have to focus on a group. That could be a problem, that you have, like, it's a pro that you only focus on the individual. But on the other hand, you also have from the group support, right? So the group can hold the energy high. That's the other thing. So you don't have that in a one-on-one session. You have to do it all yourself. That's on the other hand, it always like that. That's a con. That's what I meant with no group support. You are in charge to hold the energy level high all the time in order to provide service to your client, right? Okay. Any questions to that? Did you write anything on your note? Yes, Rocio.
Do you find that doing the healing one-on-ones, like the energy moves less than in a group because it's just one person holding the whole space? Like,
Less.
does that
Mm,
affect the healing power? That's maybe my question. Because I found that that's why I like the group ones, because I feel like you go a lot deeper and you can move a lot more energy, or not.
I would not make that a general rule. No, no, no.
Okay.
I have experienced very, very, very deep one-on-one sessions, going very, very deep. No, that's not a rule. Definitely not a rule. However, when you start and you don't have the group support, and let's say you have an experienced group like Rocio, you have Ale and Mariella and all that, right, in the group. Of course, they hold the energy much higher, right? But and if you would be the first time in a one-on-one session with a newbie, that would be, of course, you would feel that. But however, if you have a workshop group full of new ones, they have never had a family constellation before. They don't even know what to expect. That's not helping you neither, right? So in this situation, you would reverse your, you might realize that it's not a rule. It can also, in a workshop setting, the constellations can feel less energetic, right?
And would you recommend like any pre-preparation, like for the facilitator, in a one-on-one, like maybe just make sure that you do like a meditation or something like that? Like,
Yeah, of course. If you so yes, a little
mm,
ritual is, I think a little ritual is very helpful to get into the space when you begin.
mm,
And this ritual can be anything from giving thanks to your teachers or your parents, or a prayer to whoever support entities you are normally, calling on, little objects that you like, a meditation, anything, or just set 5 minutes aside before the client comes to sit in quietness and empty your mind. That's totally up to you. Yes, I do think that would help when you start. You probably won't do that the rest of your life, but
mm.
probably definitely when you start with. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so setup. So how do we, and we're not talking about virtual. Of course, I'm not talking about a virtual one-on-one. That would be like, I would not recommend to do that. You have to train with the person in front of you, right? You have to have the person and learn from the interaction with the person, right? So setup is, first of all, you need a sign-up form or a book, like a register form or whatnot, with a disclaimer. Yeah, I have a very, very simple example there that works for New Zealand and maybe Europe, probably not for US, because they have this freaking different. I don't know, India. How is that in Mana? How is the legal system in India? With
It's very loose. I think you can get away with murder here.
Okay, good.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be like probably in New Zealand, because it comes from the idea that everybody's responsible for their own actions, and if something happens, it's considered an accident, and then we have like public support for that. ACC is it in New Zealand. So there is not much need of getting insurance and this and that. In US, it's completely different. There is considered that an individual has absolutely not the capability to look after themselves. And if somebody is there to provide any kind of service, they are kind of taking over responsibility for the whole other person. And then you have huge disclaimers and blah blah blah. So I don't know the US law, but what I provide here works like probably in India, definitely in New Zealand, and most of Europe as well. Then you, in a one-on-one situation, you might want to have a table and chairs, because when you work with objects like figurines, you need a table. You can't do that on the floor, sitting on the floor. That's really not working, right? So don't be afraid to have a table, because you have all this like comes from the therapy situation, right? That the client needs to lie on the couch, and then the therapist needs to sit next to him, not confronting, not this, not that. This is not family constellation. Family constellation is you are not working with the client, you're working with the morphogenetic field. Yeah, this is different. So you're working with the morpho. You can sit opposite of your client. You can have a table in between. That's no problem, right? So and I really recommend it. It is absolutely appropriate if you provide a one-on-one family constellation to sit at a table. Then it's a little bit funny, but it really works well. So if you do anything else than family constellation, like for example, and we go through that later, in internal constellation or regression or rebirthing or anything from module 4, right, that is helping us to heal aspects, traumatic aspects in the client that we are not doing a family constellation because there's no entanglement, right? It is really important that the client is not too grounded. Like the subconscious needs to be always in movement. My teacher, Malcolm Southwood, was very, very, very strict with that. The clients they always stand, but he was a tall guy, he was 190 something. So it was easy for him to work with like every client was smaller. Like when I tried that, I found out that some clients are much taller. So I was not able to work with them in the same way. So I sit them on a chair, but it is wobbling. So you have this like this big ball you can sit on. Remember, I think that was a thing in the 90s or something. So you have this gymnasium ball to sit on, very uncomfortable. This is kind of the situation of uncomfort you want for your client. Yeah, you don't want them on a couch lying down. That would be the worst thing. And this is why all the therapies, excuse me if I say that, will not work, because the subconscious just goes away with everything. Yes, alpha status, yes, but the subconscious needs to be always in alert. It cannot be so. Otherwise, you can never work with it. It will always do what it always does, hiding. Hiding information. Right. So wobbling chairs or standing up works very well if you do that. When I work online, I cannot ask the people always to stand up, and I don't want to as well, because I'm not there to hold them when they fall, right? So I will not do that, but I ask them to sit on the edge of the chair and not to lean back. That's also solely so they need to keep themselves upright. They cannot let go. The body cannot be completely relaxed. I mean, what can I say? The body is relaxed, but not in a way, not supported, not completely supported by the chair and the arms and everything. So they need to be in alertness, still awake, to make sure the person can sit upright without support. And that's what you want, right? So don't make your client too comfortable, and God forbid, don't let him lie down. Yeah, not in our work. That's not what we do. They can go to a psychotherapist if they want to lie on a couch and talk. That's fine, no problem. But that's neither our qualification nor is that what we want. Right? We don't want to make other people busy with our ego minds and our dreams and all of that. It's all coming from the ego mind, right? And going around in circles and trying to solve things out there. We want to go deeper. We want to go to the soul cause of things. We want to go to the family system. You also you can work in small spaces, but you need a little bit of space to move around. When you have a client and you do rebirthing, for example, there is some movement taking place. You hold the client, like like we went through in module 4. You physically hold the client collapses, blah blah blah. So you need a little bit of space, and it needs to be safe, needs to be soft, of course, right? So make sure you got that. This is why you also have a soft surface. Or if you don't have a soft surface, if you have a hardwood floor, make sure you have like thick layers of blankets there and cushions and all of this. You need cushions and blankets anyhow, as you know, because if they are in the movement of hugging, especially the parents, they need a big cushion that you have to provide because they don't come with a cushion. And if you do like if you go like a rebirthing, if you have a rebirthing situation, you also want a blanket to cover your client when your client lies down after a successful passage through the birth canal. Absolutely must, lots of tissues and a bin to dispose the tissues. Yeah. And it doesn't even need to be discreet. I would put them right on the table. There's really no point in doing that discreet, and that's also no need because there's nothing wrong. You always support your client to release energies and release emotions through, especially through crying, and you always encourage them and support it. So when they do that, you really say, "That's great, do that, go ahead." You know, you never think that is something inappropriate, right? It's the opposite. It's what they should do. Yeah, and this is why it's normal to have tissues and a bin for the tissues there. We have water. We also provide water. There are lovely water carafes that you might want to use or not, or glasses. I think that's also a must because you want to keep your client hydrated, especially if they sweat or cry or they lose a lot of fluids. Then they probably need to get their level of fluids back. I use in my one-on-one clinic an essential oil diffuser. I find it's really great. I don't play music, background music. That's more like for massages and things like that because I don't think that's a good thing to do. But definitely calming essential oils in a diffuser are definitely helpful to to come to this relaxed state of alpha that we want the client in when we work. You can have also essential oils there for your own practice and for testing, like if you want to sell oil. I don't know whether you're into essential oils, lots of people are, but that's a good way to, have samples there and let them sniff some oils, and maybe you want to sell after the session even some oils. You always need to provide access to a toilet, and mind you, this is actually not so easy, especially if you don't have a professional setup. So if you work from home and you have a dedicated room, you might think, well, they're only with me for maximum an hour. Who needs to go to the toilet for an hour? I assure you, every other client needs to go to the toilet the minute they come through your door. Really. And the other half of the clients needs to go to the toilet after the session. This is just something that gets the bowel moving or the bladder or whatnot. It's just what happens, right? So yes, they just come for an hour, but most of them need the toilet. And if you are not like aware of that and you have only one bathroom in your house and you have all your personal belongings in there, you might don't want that. So think about that. If you can have a second toilet, if you can have a compost toilet or or like one of this whatever in your garden and little outhouse or something, you have really to think about that if you don't want to share your private bathroom. You have also to obey health and safety rules and regulations in your country, in your district. Definitely make yourself aware of that and read it carefully. Get some advice if you are not sure what you need. You might have to have something in the room that says what to do in a case of earthquake or in a case of fire or something. Maybe that's required if you're working with the public, so you need to be aware of that. Even though if they come into you when you work from home and it's a private space, still if you are open to the public, you have to observe health and safety regulations and other legal regulations, of course, that might apply that make you be able to work from home. Right. Well, it's easy in New Zealand. That's called a what is this called? A home business or something like that. Everybody can do that. Every legal activity you can do from home. But in other countries, it's not as such. For example, I know in Germany you couldn't. You cannot just work from home. If you can work from home, but you cannot have public in coming to your home. You need a specific, allowance for that or something. So whatever works in your, just make yourself knowledgeable to understand exactly how it works in your country. You might need a fire alarm and a fire alarm exit sign. I don't know, is Rocio gone or not? Rocio, your video is off since a while. Ah, here she
Oh,
is.
I'm sorry. No, I didn't realize. I was here all the time. Sorry.
Okay, good.
I didn't realize. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Just checking that we're not losing one. So, yeah, fire alarm. You might have to have a sign at the door. That's that's the exit door for in a case of fire or something like that. You might have to have a fire alarm in the room you're working. Maybe that's a regulation. In New Zealand, it's only required for bedrooms, not for office rooms. But maybe in your country it's different, right? Maybe you need one in an office space. This is the sign up from, this is very basic, but this works for, like I said, in New Zealand, it does work. You want the name and the address, the date of birth, the email, maybe the phone number from your client. You can ask for more information, the health status or something like that, but you are not a health provider, obviously, right? And you cannot claim to be a health provider. Right? This is why we never use the word health. We use the word healing. Yeah, it's broader, But we can never provide health service because this is regulated. And actually, we don't want neither because this is completely going another direction than what we do. So I would just ask them to state that they gave the right information, especially the name and address and date of birth. And that they are aware that they are solely responsible for their own health and well-being. And now here comes during and after the session, not to forget after the session, because if they step out, they are a little bit dizzy and they run in front of a bus and they get hurt, then they say, I was only dizzy because of the session I had, that made me dizzy. And then they might say, you are responsible for the accident. Okay. So this is why you have a liability waiver. To make sure they know. So me being a lawyer, I have to advise you, just because you write that and they sign it doesn't mean that it will hold in an unlikely event of a court, right? But it is better to have that than nothing. And it's even better to have that when you have checked before that this is sufficient in your country. Right? Okay. Then, you also add, I hereby agree to hold the facilitator, host, organizer, and/or any other second or third party, whatever, involved, not responsible for any physical and emotional distress or injury that may be sustained during or as a result of the consultation. No? And then if that is a sign-in form where you have already all the data from your client, then you have the waiver from your client, then you might as well also take your notes on the same sheet so you can put it in your file and have everything together on one sheet. This actually reminds me to remind you that other than other forms of, I don't know, healing that may go through a sequence of healing sessions, we are always taking every session as a new start. So having said that, it is not required that you make notes, and when the client comes back, you read through the notes to remind yourself of what you wear and then take it from there. That's not what we do. You can take notes. It's more for yourself that you learn from it, and if you want to recap something, right? But it's not so much for ongoing sessions with your client. Because you always need to work with the field. And the move, when you had one session with a client, the movement goes up to half a year. Continues. So something will have shifted. And when the client comes back, he or she will be somebody else. So if you would take it from where you left off, you would ignore all the movement that has taken place, right? And that would be detrimental to your work. And the good news is you don't need to remember, and you can openly say, I do not want to remember what you said to me. So don't ask me like when they come 3 times in a row, but I told you I have 3 sisters. And said, I don't care. The good thing is I forgot about it because I am only working with the information of the field, right? So that's actually quite handy, that you don't need to memorize all these information. Okay, now we're talking about how to design the session. A right time frame for a one-on-one session, don't know. I definitely think as a beginner you need an hour, probably not less. I think an hour and a half would be probably quite draining, right? And I think you might not want to put it in half an hour because you might not get anywhere in half an hour, especially when you start. So think about that. I would say anything between half an hour and 1.5 hours for one client, while as a beginner, I would aim for 1 hour. And for the first session with the client, 1 hour, 15 minutes. I think that would be ideal. Then when you have a session, you have an intro like in a workshop. So you have to an intro, you have to say your client either, you have to explain a little bit about family constellation and what you do, or if it is a reoccurring client, you have to warm the client a little bit up and ask them how they are, and do a little bit of small talk to not jump right into it, to relax the client a little bit. So there's always a kind of an intro, even if you work with your client all the time, right? Then you have the session. Of course, this is the main part. This is probably in a 1 hour session, 50 minutes, where you actually work. And then you have a closing. Like in a workshop, you take your client out of the morphic field, out of alpha state. You are checking in with your client. How they feel. Is there a sign of relief? Do they feel lighter? Do they feel better? Do they feel, have they, somehow gained more happiness or more freedom or more space in their lives? Not by talking about the constellation, but checking in with the client. When you're designing a session, you have to think about yourself, not what I say, not what others do. You have to think about yourself. Where are your strengths? And that is what you want to focus on. Because always remember, the client comes to you not by coincidence, because there is something you can give them that nobody else can. So instead of freaking out about what you might not be able to do, just focus on your strength. Is your strength that you're very intuitive and you can feel what they feel, or is your strength that you're very, very logical and you can explain things clearly, or you can see things clearly? These are your strengths, right? And then use it when you design a session. Think about that and use it. Also, think about where are your boundaries. When you're designing a session, think, okay, what is my boundary? Where's for me, where's like, I don't go further. And make sure that you design the session like that. And then, of course, think about what props and tools you're going to use and have them there. There is nothing worse that you're in the middle of the session and you have to get up and go in another room and try to find things. Everything is in the room. You're never leaving the room. You don't go to the toilet. You don't answer phones. You don't grab things. Nothing. You are there fully present for your client with the morphogenetic field. Somebody rings the doorbell, you do not answer. Mana.
Could you elaborate on where are your boundaries? I wasn't clear with that. Like, in what context should we keep to our boundaries?
Okay, so I don't know, because this is something that you are kind of self-inquire. So you think about when you're designing a one-on-one session, I want you to think about yourself and be aware of your strengths and your weaknesses, boundaries being the weaknesses. So that you are designing a one-on-one session and the situation that makes you focusing on your strengths and make sure you're not overstepping the boundaries where you feel weak. Because if that brings your energy level down, I can't tell you what that is. For example, I just make something up. If your boundary is you don't want to talk about yourself, for example, right? Then make that clear when you design the session that you ask the client about their issues. You are focusing on family constellation and your credentials you hang up at the wall. And when the client says to you, where did you learn? Then see, here's my certificate. So that would be, if you don't feel comfortable to talk about yourself, then you have this set up. So you can say, here's my certificate, there's the other certificate, and that's it, end of story. You know, you have answered the question. That would be your bound.
A great way. That's a very nice way to pre-attempt spots which may make you nervous or which you may not be prepared about.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great point to be aware of beforehand.
Yeah, it's really, really important, because if you lose grip, and I don't want to say control, it's more like when your energy level drops down, right?
Yeah.
Then you cannot offer so much for your client, right? You can only offer your client if you're at your very best. And when I say the very best, I'm not overthinking it. It's just energetically that you're at the highest possible level, right? Of energy, of frequency, of emotion, right? So yeah, and you can, by setting up, designing the session, you can be already aware about that.
Man, this is wonderful, because so far I've always gone in the opposite direction, because I thought, oh, I'm being weak there, I better go ahead and, challenge myself to that point.
Okay.
I never thought I could see it the other way around.
Try it. Yes. Yeah. And then, Mana, of course, you are always growing with every client you get, not by coincidence. So you're always growing, and you will see your boundaries will shift, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's very wise. Thank you, Maya.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Right. So props and tools, what can that be? We talk about that actually today and tomorrow. I think today more than tomorrow. No, tomorrow as well. So we talk about that. So wait till it comes to that. So how to make the client comfortable in a session is body language, first of all. You do that in a workshop too, of course, right? But remember, in a one-on-one session, it's probably more important, because the client only sees you and not anybody else from the group. So be aware, even if you're sitting on a table, that you're open, you're not crossing your arms, you're not doing something with your hair or anything like this. Is body language, right? Body language is that you are relaxed, that you're in control, and that you're open to receive. right? You think, or the client thinks that they receive, right? And you are giving. That's every client comes with this idea, but it's different in a family constellation because you need to receive the information from the morphogenetic field, right? So you are in a state of reception, and that is your body language as well. You gain trust with being prepared, right? So be prepared by having set everything up in the room, making it everything so you are comfortable. It's your colors. You are thinking, oh, this is me. This is how I want it. You have a little intro that you have in your head that you want to say, or maybe even written down somewhere as a how do you call in English, a Spickzettel, cheat sheet or something like that, that you can quickly look up if you want to, and be prepared, and then be aware that you don't need to do anything. You need to be just open. And it gives you so this is a bit old school, but it might really work that you have all the books, if you have books, in a little shelf behind you or something. So this is also for you. You feel supported with the knowledge of the of all the teachers before you and the practitioners before you, and then also your client sees this and is feels that trust. As a lawyer, you do that all the time. You are receiving your clients in the library. That's what we did, right? In a huge library, and then the client feels really, really small, and you feel really, really, trust me, because I think that you have read all the books, of course. So that's be aware. As more trust you are emitting from the setup of your session, as easier it is for your client as well, not only for you. Trust gaining through credentials is of course great. And again, the old-fashioned way is to put your certificate in a nice frame and hang it behind you, not straight behind you, somewhere where the client can see it, but it's not right in his face, or where they can see it when they come in, or where they can see it when they wait, somewhere where they will see it. That's where your certificates are, and maybe even testimonials, right? And then, of course, new school is to have everything online. But at the moment, I'm talking about a physical one-on-one session, and that's still old school, still works. Before we go to communication skills, when we talk about the room, I am a great fan of decluttering a room for family constellation purposes. So have a little bit of something that is eye-catching. Like if you see the little altar behind me and the tree of life, that's all, right? This is a little bit of an eye-catcher, but it's not like 10 pictures behind me, for example, right? So that's the same for you in a room. So a little bit to focus, which has a meaning for you. Yes, I'm not talking about like a sterile white wall thing, and a few books and everything, but and be aware, one picture, maybe two, but not too much structure. Communication skills, of course, you need communication skills everywhere, in every situation, and you all have them. That is part of your strength. So be aware of your individual way to communicate, and take this as an inspiration to communicate. So be aware what your strengths are, and don't focus on your weaknesses. So if your strength is communication, of course, that's easy. If your strengths are not so much communication, then probably you want to make a little online course, how to improve your communication skills or something like that. There is so much available. Watch YouTube videos, all for free. There is courses of nonviolent communication, which is excellent. I can highly recommend that because we are doing a lot of subtle violations through day-to-day unconscious condition sentences, we say. So lots of ways to improve communication. So if you find that's a bit of your weakness. Oh, that reminds me of something. Of course, we are all individual. Everybody talks different. Some are talking slow, others talking fast. Some are very kind and have a nice voice. Some are more rough and are more like So be aware of how you communicate. It's really important. And then, although individuality is good, tone it down, right? So if you have a soft voice, try to speak up, right? Sing loud under your shower. Exercise leading others in having a dog and train the dog, learning them commands, like come, sit, do. So so you are optimizing your skills. If you already have a strong voice and you are used to use it, then you might just do the opposite and see if you can talk a lot slower and a lot half of the volume that you normally use, right? And that is really also a great exercise. And you can do all of this when you do family and friends and everything, and you can try all these out and then ask them for feedback and how it is for them. And who has commented on that? I don't. Then you will see if you're really connected with the field, your voice is anyhow changing because you are using whatever the field requires you to use, because your personality is not involved in your work, right? So you do not need to worry about that when you're really connected with the morphic field on a deep level. This is falling away. You don't need the skills for that, but you need it when you have especially in a one-on-one situation, when you have your client the first 10-15 minutes and before they leave, and that's where you need it. So when you have, it's not coming up here, you want to make your client also comfortable with the use of essential oils. I like that. Candles, maybe sparingly, maybe one piece candle. Yeah, otherwise it becomes too romantic and maybe a completely different thing. Salt lamps are great to raise energies, purify the air. But when I talk about that, I extremely recommend to not put too many objects like crystals or feathers or dream catchers or something there, because you do not need any of those when you work with family constellation. Remember that, right? And that is maybe a distraction, and maybe the client you have doesn't like it even. Maybe they have a thing with crystals. They don't, and they think that's weird, So that is clutter. If you like your crystals, put them in your desk. Then you know they are there, but the client doesn't see them. From the point of the client, that's clutter. It's not needed for the work with family constellation. If you have clients with whom you do energy healing with crystals, and you want to combine that with family constellation, then make sure you have your energy healing where you use your crystal, and then this is done, then you put your crystals in your desk, and then you do the family constellation. Take out your board and do the family constellation, right? So this is all to make the client comfortable, but not too comfortable, as I said before, right? So we don't want to lay him down, we don't want to bet him on roses, or anything like this, right? Okay, before we go on our break, we have our exercise. I would like you to work in groups of, we are 5, of course, so one group of 2, one group of 3, to design a one-on-one session. With everything you have heard, you write it down. You can use Canva if you want to do a little bit of a design, but you can also just write it in your notebook. And what does this entail? So you work in groups of 2, you create an info brochure for your service, as if you would offer your service to the public or to friends and family, whatever. They all need an info brochure of some kind, what you want them to do, what you are offering, right? So you put in the service that you offer, the duration, the setup, the props, the intro, the price, and everything else, right? Everything you can, it doesn't need to be complete, everything you think of. And how you would do it. And also, if you want to, you can also do a little bit of a description of what you are doing. So what you're offering. So if it's a one-on-one, not a workshop, so you don't need to talk about what family constellation is. You need to talk about how you do it. Or if you have already, like, if you're a massage therapist or consultant for anything, then how you integrate family constellation into your existing clientele. How would you offer that to them? Where would be like the bridge? How do you bridge that? Understood? Yeah? Okay. So let's, and we do have 15 minutes, so that's exactly what we take. Let's do breakout rooms. We have 2. I let them assign automatically. So it just comes up as it comes up. And then I put the timer on and you work together. So you come up with one brochure, right? All right. How was that? I'm very curious to see what you have created. Who wants to start?
Shall we go first, Mana?
Okay, so I just need 2 minutes. I'm just creating the.
So I'll start like how we got to the idea, and then you can show the what you've been doing. Mana is stressed because it's not finished.
Yeah.
So basically, we were trying like we concentrated on creating the brochure and the actual like how we wanted to set it up, because we actually either like Mana and I, we do other stuff apart of family constellations. So because I do Akashic record readings and Mana does tarot card readings, we thought that a good idea is when they come in is actually to pick a card. And just, like that the cards sometimes can act like the information that you get from the cards is useful for you, and also helps the people understand what they're feeling as well. So we thought about that. And then on the setup, I personally don't like to be sitting in front of someone and a table in between us, because I think that blocks the energy. So I thought more like, those meditation chairs that you just sit in the floor, and then having maybe like those really cute, like small tables where you can actually have the figurines to be used. And so that was kind of like the setup. And then you can have all of the prompts around, like you can have like your essential oils as well. Just pick one essential oil as well, gives you a lot of information. You did that for me once and it was awesome. Like I do like essential oils as well. And yeah, and then having all of the props quite like Hindi. So what you said is kind of like a very like no noise as well, like not having anyone interrupting. So, and then I don't know if Mana is ready for it with the brochure, or do you need more time, Mana?
No, I think I'm nearly there. Just a second. Maya, can I share my screen?
You can share, yeah.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
No.
No. Not yet.
Oh. Host disabled participant screen sharing, Maya, it says.
I just have it, but don't worry about that. How's that now?
Yeah, sure. Is my screen visible?
Yes,
It's coming up.
coming. Yay. Okay. Oh, nice.
Oh, that looks awesome, Anna.
Nice. An
You just-
energetic reading of your family tree. Interesting. Come experience, visit us. This is an opportunity to open up to your family history, to understand your present, and be amazed about the information and healing that you can get from this experience. Nice.
You just threw it together, both of us.
Of course.
Mana, you're
of course.
amazing. You're
Yes, yes.
amazing.
And then you have the little moon carota there. That's nice. So I would, so that's great. Also what you said, Rocio, how you set it all up, that's all taking into consideration what we just talked about. And it's great that you have already a concept how you do it, and think about it. What are your strengths and your individual gifts you can give to it. Always remember, if you incorporate things that you know and can do, that you're not mixing it up with family constellation. Keep
Okay.
your family constellation pure.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's not Bert Hellinger, right?
Okay.
So I love the idea to have an intro with a card or with an essential oil. But then once this is done, you go closest chapter, open a new one, family constellation. And maybe on your lovely brochure, you want definitely mention family constellation in the method of Bert Hellinger, because that's what you do. So
Right.
consider that to be your strength, right? Because there are not many people who have this training. This is your strength. But there are a lot of people who think they can facilitate a family constellation because they have been on 3 workshops, right? And you have to make sure that you're making sure that you are seen with your strength. So definitely put there, come to a certified family constellation facilitator in the method of Bert Hellinger in a one-on-one session. Try in the confidentiality and the privacy of our dedicated space, how this method works for you to reveal hidden dynamics in your family system and heal any kinds of encumbrances or issues you have in your present life. Things like that. Yeah. So this is your strength.
Okay.
Don't shy away from that. Awesome. I love it. Yes, it's really, really. Did you do that on Canvas?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
I'll stop sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next group. Who's your
Yeah.
spokesperson?
Well, we can all, I think, speak a little bit. We also made a brochure, and Julie is the one that is doing it. So you let me know, Julie, if you need some time.
Yep, I can. I'm sharing now. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I hope you can
Well,
see
that looks
something.
already really lovely.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
See if I can make it bigger so you can
Yeah.
see it a little bit better. Hang on a minute. I'll move this. Hide that. And then, let's see.
On your extreme right, you see the arrow near number 2. It says 53%.
Oh, yes.
that
Yeah,
one.
perfect.
Extreme
Thank
right.
you.
No, not that.
Not that.
Julie,
The arrow.
the last, the 2 arrows.
Okay.
That one. Yeah, that's it.
Here you go. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow, well
Nice.
done.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay, talk about that.
Well, we thought to also encourage people with questions like, do you feel stuck in some area of your life, or would you need, or do you feel unhappy, or do you need help to kind of make something happen?
Yes.
Yes. So then we start to kind of offer the family constellation methods. and we put there, yeah, the first session, 1 hour and a half, and the follow-up sessions 45 minutes. We didn't get the time to discuss
Yes, sorry, there's a few
the price.
typos.
That's not important at the moment. No.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is more or less about the brochure, how we would like to kind of show offer it to our clients, potential clients. And in the setup, definitely we wanted to set up with the chairs, the table, have a very clean environment, just not don't get anybody distracted. Have the cushions, the blankets, definitely the essential oils. Yes, that helps a lot to create also an atmosphere and a welcoming experience. Yes,
Wonderful.
I don't know if you, Claudia, wants to say something.
Yeah, I was thinking about, because we have not really talked about how we would set up the room. So I would thought, because I would also not like actually having a table between me and the client, like facing each other. But maybe if you choose a nice corner, having the table in the middle and then 2 chairs next to each other, and then one other small table next to the client with a glass of water, maybe a little piece of chocolate, you know, for after, you know, and you're feeling a bit drained. Maybe on the opposite wall, what I would do is actually having a couch there where there's blankets, pillows on there, making sure that also on the table are tissues, and below next to the chair of the client, there's a bin for the used tissues. So yeah, something along those lines, and making sure that the room is not really cluttered. Yeah.
And if it looks really good, maybe a picture of it in our brochure so people know what to expect.
Yeah, maybe of the room, you know, of the table, of the
Mm.
family, of the board. We were thinking maybe putting a picture of the board on the table with a lamp, maybe salt lamp next to it, and just take a picture of that so that people get a feel of what that room looks like, where they actually being welcomed. So yeah.
That's a very good idea. So it's also like it's a deja vu. When they come into the room, they already have seen it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they feel already prepared, right? That's a
Mm.
really good idea. Yes.
Yes.
So
And also,
you go. Yep, go.
yeah, no, it's one thing that we didn't have time to discuss it, but it's something that I really resonate is to have like one object representing each element, like not too big, like small things, maybe next to me, because it's something that really makes me feel supported.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah, one of the 5 elements. Yeah.
Yes, like a
Yeah.
plant, could be a plant that
Yeah.
they are actually concentrate the 4 elements or something like that.
Yeah.
I have
No.
got a trick, you know, like if you really like your crystals, but you don't want anybody to see, what I do is I wear my crystal on my body. So I've got a little bag where I put my little crystals in, and then I hide it in my bra.
Very
So
good.
it's actually out of other people's sight, but you know, you are actually, you have got your support. If you think that will help you with support, it's right there, right? And you know it, and no one else does need to know it, right? So
Nice.
Like
Very
when
nice.
they fall out, I've had that happen before.
well, that's
Where
why I
did that
tie mine
come
on the
from?
bra strap. You know, if you've got those little bags, and I just tie with a string on the bra strap so it can't fall.
So we are right here in a heated discussion. You avoid all of this if you know your strength is within and not bound to objects, and you don't need to worry about any of those. I have another example that just brings back memories. My friend, my very dear friend who introduced me to the family constellation work, she was trained with a student of Bert Hellinger, and in her training, her teacher was always wearing a big white linen cloth, like, you know, like a monk always.
Okay.
And in her teaching, she was conveying to her students to do the same. So when they work, that they have to have like this ugly dull linen cloth that is hiding the body and has no color, and of course there was a big philosophy behind that. You are white canvas, you are not there, it's all about the client, the field, and blah blah blah. So when she was finished with her training, and she was ready to work, I congratulated her and said, make her gift. And I said to her, and you have to give me a gift too. Promise me to throw this sack out. That is not you. You do one-on-ones. The people come to you because of who you are. You need to show them who you are, right? And this will not help you at all. It's just an object.
No, of course not.
You know, and that just reminds me of when you said that, right? So yes, you might want an object, but it always can fall out. It always can do something that you know, it's another thing you have to worry about. So coming back, and before the break is already due, coming back to what is great work. In the second brochure, I like that you mentioned family constellation, that you made clear it's going to be a family constellation that you're providing. In both things, don't shy away from using the word Bert Hellinger. You have trained, and I would always say at least once in a brochure that you're offering family constellation in the method of Bert Hellinger. Because this is again making it clear that you are the real thing, right? And not everybody can say that, right? That's important. And say once your certificate also said that you are certificate in providing the service, right? And yes, great work. I hope that was a good, fun exercise for you, that you feel comfortable about it now to design your own little, not right now, but you know, when you are certified, your own little brochure and little business, and start to practice with your friends and family, and put that into action, what you have thought about so long and so creatively. Okay, awesome. We go on a break. In 10 minutes, I see you back. See you in 10.
See you.
Right. So let's see what we do in the second half of today's module. Here we go. So we are talking about how we use in a one-on-one session figurines. Now, figurines are the most common props used in family constellations in a one-on-one session all over the world. Different figurines, of course. I introduced you to a certain set from Switzerland, which is actually produced for this purpose. There are other methods, and we go through a couple of them, obviously, but there is a good reason why figurines are most popular. More importantly, they give you the most clues, as would real people do. Secondly, the client like to play with the figurines normally. I've never seen it any different. And thirdly, they are very transportable, so you can normally take them with you and go somewhere else. If you want to do home visits or go on a workshop and use a figurine and things like that. So let's see. We are talking about figurines. So we are talking in particular, and I will demonstrate the wooden board with built-in figurines. That's what I use. There's also other figurines that are very popular in family constellation. The second one is Playmobil. Playmobil has, as far as I know, also a set for family constellation. I think if you fancy plastic figurines, you might want to Google that. The pros of Playmobils are that they are very detailed and they look like little people, right? And they can also move arms and so forth. The downside of Playmobil is that because they are so detailed, they don't allow more interpretation. And when you go with the field, you get information that is not what you see, that's an information you get, right? And if you have a figurine that is not too detailed, I feel like you are more open to more room for the field to give you more interesting information, other than you are starting to use your mind and interpret what you see. You know what I mean? So, like, there's a spectrum from completely neutral objects, like a cushion. That's a completely neutral object, and you can use it, to very detailed figurines like Playmobil, who have clothes on, they have a face drawn, the face has an expression, they have a hairdo, they can move they are very detailed if you look at them. Yeah, they have different hair colors and so on and so on. Lego has also figurines. People use Lego figurines, of course. They are like Playmobil. They are not so mobile. They are Legos, but they are still kind of in the same category as Playmobil. You can do your own. One of in our training group, I don't think Francesca, I don't think she made her own, but she's using animal figurines and all sorts of little figurines she has collected for this purpose. And you definitely can also do your own, of course. What is important, any kind of figurines you use, what is important when you use figurines is they all have to have different colors. Because remember, we have the spiritual color chart, and it's really recommended that you have that in your desk when you work and print it out and look at it if you don't remember a specific color, because they give you a clue. So colors are important. They have to have different sizes. That's absolutely a must, because otherwise you cannot see the dynamic. Is this a child parentship dynamic? Is this a dynamic where the orders of love is disturbed or not? Or is it in the orders of love, or is it out of the orders of love? So you see all of this only when you provide different sizes for the client to choose. You also want different genders for the same reason, right? To see if there's a confusion. Having said that, it is not always the case that when a client uses male figurines for females, that's not always a thing. You will see that. So don't be predisposed to look at it. Oh, there's a confusion with the gender, like there's an entanglement with the opposite sex. And this is from the mind. Of course it can be, but it has to come from the field, the information, and then you follow it. Before you not get the information, you just, they just choose a figurine with a skirt or with not a skirt. I mean, that's as such. In the moment, it's not as important as the colors. The colors give you instantaneously a clue what energy, what emotion lies behind this person that is representing. But the gender, I think, is more subtle. Yeah. So don't make it right away a thing. You always need neutral figurines. They have no color. They may even don't have a gender. I mean, my figurines all have a gender, either or. But if they have no color, they are already so neutral that the gender kind of doesn't matter. On top, I will show you, I have also little objects that are no figurines, and they are now definitely neutral. These are the neutral objects. And then on the other hand, don't have too many choices, no? Because, it's getting too complex also for you to make sense out of what you see. So choices are great, but not too. It's not like you need to provide 100 figurines and they are all different. No, I don't think that adds to the work is quite simple in the end. So it would make it maybe overcomplicate. What is very important is once you have a set, always use the same. Because they become to you your messengers, your helpers. They will have a certain meaning, and that is not by coincidence. So when a client chooses, like in my set of figurines, when the client chooses the pink female, I know it's the mother. Yeah, it's always the mother. Then in the context it is standing is, I see whether it's an interrupted movement or whether it's an entanglement or whether it's a lost child. That's you see from the context of the, but if I know this figurine and then there's the other figurine which I know that's always stands for the happy child, and then the other figurine always for some dark energies and so on. So you know your figurine. And this gives you confidence, and this is your strength that you know your figurines. And so when the client chooses some figurines, then you know. But again, be aware of being too much in your mind, right? You always, when you think you know something, you know how that is in life, the next chance you get is to prove that you don't know anything, right? So be aware that this can happen, and that's good. It's good. So just the openness to go with it. What is also a must is a movable surface. If you put figurines on a table, which is fine to start with, then you and your client have to go around the table to look at the figurine from all angles. This is very uncomfortable and sometimes not even possible. It is much better you and your client can sit where you are and you move the figurines around without them falling all over. And I will demonstrate that in a minute here on my board. Shall we do that now? We go through, I think we have an exercise anyhow with this. Now talk about other objects. So yes, you can use anything. So now when I started to work, I had, what happened there? I don't even remember. The figurine board has not arrived yet or something. I just remember that I worked in my clinic room with a client with shoes because I had nothing else. And I just pulled out 5 pairs of or 6 pairs of shoes out of my cupboard. And, and that's what and it was fabulous, right? Because especially shoes, they have a direction. So it's like a face. So they point, a back and the front, and they can literally smile or frown. So it was a really interesting constellation and very deep for the client. So every object is really good, but you need to be confident with the objects. It makes no sense if you use objects and then you think, oh, that's not going to work, and I see nothing, and I don't know how that would ever work. That's not going to work. Whatever you choose, it works for you. For the client, it works if it works for you. You don't need to worry about your client, right? So this is why pillows work, shoes work, toys work. You can, if you have a young child or children in your household, you can gather all the toys together, or dogs, you can if they are not used, you can gather all the toys together and provide that and do that, right? Of course, this could also become a little bit of a game or a play. So be aware of that. It's not drifting into something to make fun of or be silly about or something like that. Just, be aware. You don't want that to happen. You can even use drinking glasses, cutlery, and bottles. I actually had that. So there was an interesting situation when I worked closely with Bert and Sophie Hellinger on a project. I went out with Sophie Hellinger for lunch during a workshop that was always multiple days. And it was in the phase where I got separated from my husband, and something, she didn't know that, and I said that to her, and it was a bit of distress. And then she said, okay, now where, and she used the water glass we had, and the cutlery and the salt and pepper thingy and so on the table before the food came, and said, so where would you put this is your husband, this is you, this is your son, this is blah. So, and then we actually were in the middle of a constellation on the lunch table in a public place with what was on the table. And it was fabulous. Like, it was so great. I was so grateful for this spontaneous little constellation that we had there. That was not so little after all. of course. And then, so you can literally use anything for a family constellation as objects. You can use paper sheets with names. They can be the representatives. You can make a paper sheet and say mother, father. You can use the sheets open so you see who it is. You can turn them around so you don't see who it is. So this is all possible. This is actually going a little bit in the exercise that we do later with floor anchors, but this is a little bit different. So you can ask your client to represent each and every family member with paper sheets. Just put mother, father, just ask them where would you place them in a room. Now you need more space. And then you would ask him to stand or her to stand on the sheet and represent the mother or represent the grandmother or represent the ancestor. Connect with the morphic field. Right. If absolutely no other way, then you can also, as a facilitator, go and go into a role of the representatives, but do that really sparingly. You need to be the facilitator. You cannot just represent all these. This is too confusing. You ask your client to represent each and every one. Don't do the work for your client. The client comes to you in a one-on-one. The client has to work. Otherwise, you can say, if you don't want that, come to a workshop. Other people are doing this for you. Yeah. But you are not doing that for your client. Julie, was it? Yeah, hand up.
Yes, Maya, I just had a question. I read in a book once that they use the paper sheet and names, but you were doing it for yourself. Have you tried that? Can you do a constellation for yourself using that sort of?
Not sure what to say. I don't think I want to do that.
No,
because
I haven't done it and I just wasn't sure. Yeah.
I mean, you're very welcome to try all of these. For myself, the facilitator has a very specific role, right? In a family constellation. There is no family constellation without a facilitator. If you are the client and the facilitator and one person and all the representatives, I am not quite sure what's gonna, where's the movement, who is guiding the healing movement. You might find out when you connect to the morphic field how your father feels. You might find that out, and that's might healing for you. But as in finding the disruption in the orders of love, finding what mends, adding that. Therefore, you need to have the overview as a facilitator. So I think the role as a facilitator is how can I say that, is mandatory. Like you cannot omit this role. And obviously you need the client. So you have these two roles, right? And now if you need people to represent, I'd rather choose the client to do that than giving up my role as a facilitator and my objectivity, and being the facilitator and the client in one. I'm not quite sure how that works. So if you ask me, can you use the tools you have learned to work on yourself? Yes, but I would extremely recommend to have a friend or a family member with you who knows a little bit about all of these, who you can ask to represent. So you are the facilitator, you might be the client, but you have somebody to represent you and everybody else on the field. I think really, I don't know where else the boundaries is to just what is family constellation and what is intuitive healing. If you know, or another word for that. Rocio.
Funny you said that, because I have used it to do like mini exercises for myself. Like, for example, if I'm feeling like a really big emotion coming up and I feel like releasing it, I just connect with the feel and I put like a pillow just to represent the emotion I wouldn't do like a big constellation for myself, but yes, to connect with something small that it's coming up and maybe just release it. But I wouldn't do like a, I don't know, like a big constellation with a lot of like family members. It's more about a one-on-one or something that came up that day that I just want to release something quite small. And I found that it's actually quite good, like, because sometimes being on your own as well, it actually makes you feel comfortable, like you can just do whatever, you know. And yeah, but I do find that now doing like a big thing on your own, it's not good.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Rocio. That's what you do there, is to release an emotion, is you should do that all the time, right? This is very important for personal growth. No, it's not a family constellation, but it's a release of an emotion. It's either yours or of a family member, possibly. You don't know, you don't need to know, but you release it and you will grow. So definitely do that. That's really, really, really great, Rocio. Okay. Okay. Like any objects, really, talking about objects you can use, that you can think of, as long as you are clear about their meanings and you are comfortable with using them. Okay, so we have a training session. I show you how to work with the figurines. So I talk a little bit when I have them up, how like we might actually make a real one. Maybe we constellate one of you guys. So that would be something. And then you see how I do the intro, the session, and then the closing. Of course, we don't do the full 45 minutes that I normally do, obviously. We see how long it goes, 10, maybe 15 minutes. And then, so when we have a session, and when I talk about training session here, I also talk about you doing training sessions with your friends and family. In this case, you have to follow up. Remember when I said, do not talk about it, let the field work, do all of this. Yes, but not when you are learning. When you are in the situation that you are learning, you need to follow up and get the feedback in which direction you're heading. Remember, this is not, you don't get any money. This is not a full session. You don't need to provide a result for your friend or family member. They are volunteering, guinea pigging for you to learn. So you definitely have to follow up with them and ask if what they have felt the day later, a week later, a month later, what has changed, what has moved, just to give you confidence that something has changed, right? You need to have this feedback to become confident. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing here and we go and do our figurine session. Therefore, I have to just set it up, bring some light into it. So obviously, when we talk about how you do it, you have you have a table and you have your client there. Now you just imagine we would sit on a table. Okay, so can you see the figurines? Okay, so let me just take that away. I'm a little bit cluttered here. Okay, so now you see the figurine board. You see two boards actually. Just a sec. You see two boards. One is the board, this one, the light color one, where the figurines live in. They can, slot in there. Actually, not all of them, but most of them. And that's the board the figurines come with, and it's very transportable, and you can use it. But what I have more figurines, more colors, more, because I use more in the constellation. And what I have underneath is another board which actually rotates, and it's nothing else than like one of the Lazy Susan you can get in any kitchen stuff shop. Yeah, so this is very important because you want to provide your client different angles, and for yourself as well. Okay, so the intro we can skip because we all know what we are doing here. So let's make it a real thing. I would like some of you to volunteer to look at something. So Claudia's hand was up first, so I might just pick you.
Thank you, Maya. I have just recently found out that my daughter Pania has started self-harming, and I'm really concerned. So she won't talk to me, and I need to find out what's going on and how to help her.
So that is a clear issue that we look at. So there's not much to ask, or you know, that's it. That's more. We don't need any more information. Now we are going through this as if we would be in a workshop. We ask the client to choose figurines as representative. And in this case, because Claudia want to work for her daughter, but also for herself because she is concerned, right? So you always have to think, who is your client? Because if you have a mother, mothers or fathers are allowed to consulate for their children. So then would be the child would be the client. But when Claudia said, I'm so worried about her, this gives us the clue that she's a client. Do you understand the difference?
Oh, okay.
When Claudia would say, I would like to consulate for my child, she has nothing that she, oh, what can I come up with? She is in a relationship, and I want to make sure that she's happy. Yeah. And that is a good start for the relationship, and just with a beautiful method of family constellation, I want to help her as much as I can so she has a fulfilled life. That means she's not worried. Yeah. She wants a genuine constellation for her daughter, which she can have. But here what we heard is immediately that she is very concerned and she wants to know how to help. So it's all about Claudia, really, right?
Oh, shit.
So, yeah. So we have Claudia here, of course, the daughter. So two representatives for that. And then also in this case, I would ask her to choose a representative for her worries. Yeah. And just, you know, you don't say anything. She can choose any figurines. I just guide her saying, okay, this is the first row, second. This is just because it's virtual. If you sit with your client, it's more obvious. And to guide me. So take a figurine for your daughter.
From the very first row, the third one, the read. Yeah, that one. The read one. Yep. Yep.
For yourself.
In 1, 2, 3. In the 1, 2, 3. In the fourth row, the green one. The third one in. Yeah, that one.
Then a figurine for your worries.
The read round one. I think it's in 1, 2 in row 3. That one, yeah.
Then probably a figurine for the self-harming.
The brown one in the third row. Yeah.
That one or that one?
No, that one. Yeah, the first one where you've got your finger. Yeah, that one.
Okay. All right. Now we have the figurines. And before we put them on the board, I just want to show you the figurines I have. So you see, we have different colors and genders and sizes, right? That's obvious. Okay. We also have neutral colors, very important, the white ones. None of the colors have faces, but because of their hairdo, they show you the direction where they are looking, which is important. We need to know in which direction they're looking. So you cannot have just a blank head with no hair on, because you don't know where they are looking. But they don't, these figurines have no faces, so we don't know, are they happy or not happy or what, but they will actually reveal that while we are working. And sometimes you instantaneously think, oh my gosh, this is happy, and oh my gosh, this is sad. Yeah, you can see that in the figurines. Now we have also neutral objects. We have this object, and then everybody, or most people say, what is this standing for? I said, whatever it stands for. Can be anything. But it's very often it's somebody dead or a blockage or something like that. That's mostly what it's used for or what it's chosen for. Then we have these very handy little objects because you can stack them and you can do different things. You can make a border or whatnot, right? So they are really, really useful, these little thingies. And then we have gigantic figurines here, only a few. Sometimes this gives a very good, they are often used for ancestors, by the way. So if I ask somebody to choose a representative only for an ancestor, then that's what they come up with. They normally choose one of the big white ones. But sometimes they also choose it for a parent. And then especially if it's just for one parent, like say the father is chosen, like the big white one here, this one, and for the mother, let's say they chose this one, then you know there's a big dominance. You know there's something going on with the father relationship that is so overwhelming, so dominant. So now that the figurines are chosen, I take the rest of the figurines away because I don't want them to be too much in focus. However, when you're working with your client in a room, obviously they are still there, right? They're just at the side. Now I bring this into focus. And now I ask the client to place the figurine. So we start with, in this case, we start with your daughter, which was this.
No, that was not that one. No, my daughter was the red one.
The red one, this little one.
Yeah.
So start with her and just tell me where you would like this figurine to, where you feel, just where you feel. And when you are, what you ask is like in a family constellation, you're asking for the subtle movement, the subtle impression. Does it feel light or does it feel heavy? Does it feel like a relief or does it feel like a burden? You know, and it can be really, really small differences, but they count. That's what you are looking for, right? Not big explanations. Just that, very simple. That is the movement that we need. We need to go towards the direction of more happiness. So, Claudia, where do you feel is the representative of your daughter?
She can stay there, but facing that brown figurine.
Okay. Right, that brown figurine. And now we turn around.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we have it correct, right? It's very important to place the figurines in the very precise way, and you need to be patient. The client might take 10 minutes to place one figurine and said, no, a little bit more left, no, a little bit more back, oh, go back. Don't be annoyed. It's really important. Yeah, it does say something. It's really important. Otherwise, it would not have the same impact when it's not correct in exactly the position that the client sees it. Okay. So is the distance okay?
Yeah, the distance is okay. And I would like the brown figurine to look at my daughter. Yeah.
So the brown figurine was the self-harming. Okay. Now we take you. Where's your figurine? Where's your representative?
That one is me, yeah. I have a feeling I'm standing behind my daughter. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Not too close, but also not too far away. Yeah.
And this is a representative of your worries. Where would you want them?
That one is actually close to the border of the table and facing away from everyone. Yeah, bit further out, bit further out. Yeah, like that. Yeah, like that.
Now, when you work one-on-one, you have all the time with your client, so use it. So just make sure that your client is comfortable with what is on, not comfortable like, but that agrees with what is on the board.
Yeah.
Okay. Then this is why you need a movable surface. Then you move it a little bit because it might be different from another angle. Slowly move it around. Now he goes out of focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what would you do if it would be a workshop situation? That's to everybody the question. Think of it a second. I just have to leave just a half a minute. Sorry.
I'm gonna check what the colors means.
So in a, did anybody say something? I heard something. Rocio, did you say something?
Actually, yes, I'm just taking a look about what the colors mean in the charter.
Ah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now,
I'm
if
just
you
trying
would,
to find the chart.
okay. So in the workshop situation, what would you do if that would be not figurines, but represented people? What would you do? Mana?
Probably ask them how they're feeling and where they're looking.
Very good. Now, how would you do that when you cannot ask them? Like the figurine. Exactly the same questions we have. They are not different. Same question. So the feeling we can get from the spiritual color chart, but also the resonance from the field that gives us, yeah? You have to trust that. And the direction where they're looking, we see. We see it. This is why we need faces. We see the direction where they are looking. Now, I start with looking at the one who is not part of it here. For me, this comes over as the strongest energy. Same with you? Why is that? First of all, it's the largest figurine on the board. Secondly, it has the color red. Rashia, did you find it? What's red?
Red is for desire,
And
anger
anger.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine. So Claudia has chosen this representative for her worries. But in true, it's anger. Yes, Rocio.
if two figurines have the same color, like for example, that one is the anger and the daughter is red as well, does it mean that they actually share the same color and the same feeling?
Okay, so yes and no. That could be a hint. Everything is just a hint. You have to find with the methods you learned if this is actually true. But the hint here is that there is a relationship between the daughter and this figurine because of the color, which can mean an entanglement. Yeah? Which can mean that the daughter is taking over the anger of this person. And that's exactly what we see here. So in this case, it has already, like, it's not only a hint, it's obviously what's happening here, right? Okay. Remember, when we are placing representatives, doesn't matter if it's figurine or persons, they are representing family members. Every time, there is no exception. So we are working with Claudia's family system. We don't need to know if this figurine here, who it is, and which generation. We don't need to know that, and we don't need to know, but we know that all these, also this figurine, is part of her family system. So we are working with the entanglements and the sentences of resolution that we know. There is never anything new. I want to make absolutely sure that you know that. Whatever name or title you give a representative, in the end, it's a family member. And you work as normal as you would do. If somebody would say this is an uncle, now uncle is not a good example, a great grandfather, yeah, and this is like the sister of her, yeah, or they don't say it, that doesn't matter to us. It absolutely doesn't matter. Okay, now we look at it and we look at the figurine. We are not moving them at the moment. We are just observing. That's the first thing you do. You do that in a family constellation workshop as well, but you would probably ask the representative quite soon what they feel, you know, at whom they look, how do they feel about it. Here you take more time to observe. So the first observation is there is somebody who is looking away from what's going on there, who is carrying anger, who is kind of excluded, and the daughter is connected through the color, which is an hint of an entanglement in this case, definitely. Because she is self-harming. What does it do? Releasing anger and turning the anger inwardly to oneself instead of to somebody else. But it is always anger. Otherwise, why would you hurt? Right? Now we can see that this figurine, which is a representative of self-harming, is in the focus. Now this is excluded and this is in the focus. So this is a very, very good example for a really clear dynamic that you can immediately see with the figurines when the client places them. You have the triangle right here, right in front of you, and it's actually a triangle.
True.
So it's an excellent example, Claudia, for what we want to demonstrate. So the field has given us, as always, perfect timing, perfect tools. Now remember, we can only work with representatives that are actually connected. So one has to look at somebody else in order to say something. In this example, don't suggest that he is going to say something. Whom is he talking to? The void? That's, you know, but any one of these three can actually start to find out what dynamic is going on and how to heal it, what to find what mends. In this case, because the yellow figurine, Rossi, what is not yellow, green? What's green? Let's
I'll
go
tell
through the
you in a
colors.
second. Green is actually, that green is peace, rest, or healing. And then the other counterpart, it's jealousy or envy.
That would be a dark green, right?
It's actually the bright green.
The jealousy and envy?
Yeah, that's the dark one. And the bright one, it's peace, rest, and healing. So the dark one is jealousy and envy. Yes, you're right.
So that's a nice indication that we probably don't need to start with the mother here, because she obviously looks like support. You know that from the way she's placed, from her size, she's larger, from the color, she stays for healing. Yeah? And she's looking open. So if you look in her face, you see this figurine has some openness. Can you see that? While the red one is slightly looking down and a little bit not so open, a little bit more closed, right? So when you look at this, just how the figurines stand, we haven't done anything, we haven't moved them, we have not done anything. You have so many information already, right? So now you know you have to start to inquire into this relationship. Yeah? What is brown, Sue?
Brown stands for control. Like the,
Look
yeah,
at
brown
that.
is control.
Control.
Yeah.
So the representative for self-harming is the color chosen for control. Because if you are self-harming yourself, you also want to be in control. This is interesting, right? You want to be in control of your own pain. Because otherwise, you know what the opposite would be? You would go in a pub where a lot of drunken guys is and assault a guy to get beaten up. You would be harmed, but you don't have control over it.
No.
Right? So self-harming is also a control issue. You want to be in control. And now look at the color that has been chosen for this figurine. So it couldn't be any better than that. Okay. Rocio.
I have a question about the self-harming part, right? Because I thought that some self-harming was as well to feel alive, to feel something. You know, when you're numb and you need to feel something, that some people like self-harm to actually feel something.
Oh, definitely. That's also an aspect.
Yeah.
And there's also another aspect. It could be also some of the need of a rebirth.
Yeah.
There are lots of signs and lots of, you know, that's all true. But we just focusing on that what is here
Like
in
the
a
red.
family constellation, like, you know, like what we work with. And that would be now the issue of, or the need of being in control.
The anger.
The anger that has a need of being in control is small. See that? Yeah. So feels small. The self-control is the smallest figurine on the board. Yeah. So feels also somehow small, maybe even unworthy or something like that. Yeah. Okay. So now we are bringing him into the picture again. So you see the triangle that's going on between here, here, and there. And you know, when we have a triangle, we have an entanglement. Hmm? And it's really, really good if you work precise and simple and with only the information you have, and get this picture clear, right? Because then you know already, okay, there's really just one sentence needed, or two, or maybe three, and that will clear. So we would now work with her, right? What do you suggest she should say to this figurine? Just think of please, thank you, and yes. Always just the three choices to start with. Nothing more complicated than that.
Probably yes.
Please.
Yeah, I will say please too.
Yeah, I would say please.
Yes, I would say please too. And why? What do you think?
I think it's because she's small and the other figure is bigger.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So we can say please. Just checking the options, right? What is the other option if we always starting with acknowledging what is?
I see you.
Yes, I see you. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
What's another acknowledging what is?
I'm the little one, you're the big one.
Very good. What else? What's about the emotion?
I'm angry.
I'm angry.
Mm.
So I would in particular start here and say, acknowledging what is, I'm angry at you.
I'm angry.
So now we need the client, which is Claudia, to represent every of these figurines. Remember, I'm not doing that because I want to be the facilitator and being objective. But I ask the client to represent each one of the figurines here. Okay? So Claudia, and I normally use my fingers, put my finger on it to connect and show Claudia for whom she is representing. And when she would sit next to you or opposite of you, I would ask her to put her finger on the figurine. Yeah? So I just do that for her because she's not here. Claudia, say, I'm angry.
I'm angry.
I'm angry at you.
I'm angry at you.
And then let it sink in. Just always take your time. And then you observe the client who's representing, if you can see something in the facial expression or in the body language. And then you ask, how is that if you say that? And what you really want to hear is either true or not true, right? That's all you want to. So Claudia, how is it when you say that?
It's very true. Yeah.
Very true.
I can feel it in my stomach as well. It's like it's on fire.
Mm-hmm. So now we have jumped right. So you gave all the choices, and I just picked that which I knew is the one. If you start to work, you might go through all of these options until you come to this. Yeah. So this is not a competition who does the fastest family constellation. You take your time, you be thorough, you have all the options, you use them and see what is actually then strong, right? Which is this. Now, having said that, we feel what's going on here. And we would ask the client to feel into this figurine represented. You might have also, sorry, just a second, Claudia. You might also get an information, which is great. Keep it for yourself. Ask the clients first, yeah? Claudia, what do you feel?
It doesn't really worry me when she says that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like
What are you doing, you little?
whatever.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what comes through, right? I'm in control. You are just a little one. What? I don't care.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then, acknowledging what is, I would ask Claudia to say, for this brown figurine, I don't care.
I don't care.
Just acknowledging what is. And now we have to go back and see what's happening here.
It makes me even more angry when he says that.
Now say, I'm very angry at you.
I'm very angry at you.
How can you amplify that even?
I feel like I want to punch him. So
Yeah. I really want to hurt you.
I really want to hurt you.
So now how is that for her?
It's like, you're no danger to me.
Exactly. You can't hurt me.
No,
Say for her, you can't hurt me.
you can't hurt me.
Now we are in a ping pong situation. Can you see that? This is not going anywhere anymore. But we have established the reality of what is. Now don't forget, it's all about this figurine, right? But this figurine is, you know, outside. So in this case, you have two options, and I leave you here for now. Sorry for this, but I have to go for another minute. But I want you to think about it. You have two options. Which two options do you have now? I'll be right back.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Maya.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you are.
Okay. It was just the lag. Okay, so what are the two options?
It's either my daughter or the brown figure talking to that big figure over here.
Right. Exactly. So now we don't know which one is the right one. So now we try it. Yeah. So now I ask Claudia, who's representing as a client all the figurines. Feel into this one, the red one, her daughter. Do you feel there's a movement?
No.
No, she says no. Now feel into this one. Where's the movement?
I want to look at the bigger, of the big figure.
Okay. Now that the figurine is looking at the red one, she can talk. And what would you say in this situation naturally?
Look at me.
Please look at me. So Claudia, say for the brown one, please look at me.
Please look at me.
Or hang on, there's another one, which I don't know whether you felt that, Claudia, but that wasn't right. There's the other one.
No, not 100%. No.
The other one is, I see you.
Yeah, I see you. Yeah,
That's better.
that's the right one.
Mhm. And to amplify that, you say, now I see you, because you couldn't turn around before.
Now I see you.
And your anger.
And your anger. Yeah, it feels right.
And your, is that a word, lostness, into your lostness? Lostness? What is this? This is not English, isn't it? And your, what is
Loneliness,
it?
maybe.
Lost,
Yeah. Or,
being
yeah.
lost.
Or being lost.
Say that one more time. Now I see how you're being lost.
Now I see you and that you're lost.
And that you
I actually want
belong.
to say, I see you that you're not acknowledged.
Yeah.
That's what I want to really say. Yeah.
And say, I see you and I acknowledge you.
I see you and I acknowledge you.
I see your anger.
I see your anger.
Now, this already feels strong here. So I turn it around because I felt a strong reaction here. I just have to move them a little bit somewhere else so I can easily reach. So, Claudia,
Yeah.
what's going on here? That's a little bit wobbly.
Yeah, I feel like shaky and yeah, very shaky.
Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, I am, my veil fell, you know, my disguise, my whatever it is.
Yeah. I feel like I've been discovered.
Yeah.
Feels uncomfortable.
Yes. Very much.
I don't really want to look at anyone.
No. Now we go over here. What is going on here now? That actually, now that's interesting because the figurine do their own thing, right? And this is why they are great representatives. If you turn the board around and you thought the red figurine is looking at the brown one, what we're indeed looking at is
At the red one, yeah.
the red one.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So, Claudia, is there movement?
Yeah, I want to look at that figurine, but I'm also a bit afraid.
How is that?
Pretty overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now
don't
we
really want to. I don't
Yeah.
want to look at him. I'm looking down now.
Yeah, totally. Now we have the three dynamics we can look at. And no reparation for your sins. I follow you. Right? And what's the third one?
I do it for you.
Rather me than you. Isn't it?
Rather me than you.
Yes.
And because, so now, because this is, she actually looks down, and because this was also what I felt was that she was unable to face, hang on, where is this again? Yeah. Now we can, I follow you, we can exclude.
Yeah.
Because when you have I follow you, then there's an open relationship. Yeah. Between the entangler and the entangled person. Yeah. So it's not I follow you. Now we have rather me than you. If it would be rather me than you, she would not look to him. She would still look to the brown one, right? So this is a strong, and also this being like the self-harming and turning the anger against us. This is also quite religious, by the way. This always reminds me of Catholic churches, and maybe other religions I don't know so well, where you have to beat yourself for sins, right?
Mhm.
So we try here the I reparation for your sins. So what can we say? I sacrifice myself for you. Right. That would be the one.
I sacrifice myself for you. I can't look at him though. I'm looking on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something in front of me. It's not there, but it's there.
Okay. So when your client says that, you have two options. You can go with it, or you follow what you wanted to do, right? Your choice. You have to see in the moment what's going on. In this case, I would just choose a figurine, from the board and put it there. And that is the sin, right? That is what has happened. Not to her, to him. And that's the entanglement. So now we ask Claudia, what has changed?
I can look up, but I look at that figurine in front of me and I feel connected.
Yes.
I want to hug it.
Okay, grab a pillow and hug it, and we move her closer to there. Now I actually feel a movement in here, and when you work with figurines, always make sure that the fingers are not in the way, so you can see. She also wants to go there. How's that, Claudia?
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel supported now. I'm not feeling so alone.
Yeah. And remember, words are lesser than movements. And we only use words to ignite a movement. If we have a movement, we don't need to use words. Yeah. We just want to ask the client to breathe and to stay connected. And wait, because now the movement is taking place. Claudia,
Yeah.
what do you think about this? What do you feel about this there movement?
I can look now at that big figurine. Yeah, I can look at him, which I couldn't before.
Then say to him, please look at her.
Please look at her.
This is your action, not mine.
This is your action, not mine.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Mhm. This is between you, and I'm meaning the brown one and him.
This is between you two and has got nothing to do with me.
How's that?
It feels like, yeah, that's the right thing to say. Yeah,
Mhm.
it feels bitter,
Mhm.
but also a bit teary.
I think,
Yeah, you can come closer now.
yeah.
Yeah, stop there. Yeah, not too close. Enough.
Mhm. Say to them, I see your pain
I see your pain
and your loss
and your loss
and your responsibility.
and your responsibility.
I am just the little one.
I'm just a little one.
This is too much for me.
This is too much for me,
But I do it out of love for you,
but I do it out of love for you
if I have to.
if I have to.
Deep breathing. Say, she's not forgotten.
She is not forgotten.
She belongs to us.
She belongs to us.
And she has a place in my heart.
And she has a place in my heart.
Mm. But I'm not responsible.
But I'm not responsible.
Right. Very good. Say, now I can leave her with you.
Now I can leave her with you.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good. I want my mommy now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That
Okay.
feels good.
Very good. So we leave it here. Thank you, Claudia, for volunteering.
Thank you for solving this. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, but you know, we started a movement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me, everyone, before we leave, we are just 10 minutes over. What are you taking with you from today? Just one thing. I start with Julie.
Um, What's just stuck in my mind today is the colors.
Mhm.
Yeah, remembering the importance of the color chart and looking at it and how it came into play on the board. So yeah.
That's a very good one, because in one-on-one session, this helps more than anything else. Other than on workshops, you don't need that at all. Very good. Claudia.
Well, I think with working with the board, observation is very, very important for taking your time,
Very
not jumping to conclusions, but really step back and look at from every angle.
good. Very good. Yes, that's definitely one of the main points here. Alessandra?
Yeah, and also that working in one-on-one sessions is a great way of, I mean, it can be challenging, but it's a great way to start to practice.
Yes, very good. That's definitely the case. Mana?
Maya, I would say the subtlety of perspectives. You turn the table and the figurine just turned and just changed. So there's so many layers that I think with time we'd be more mature and we'd pick up these perspectives, which can add a lot more dimensions.
Yes, and all with figurines where you think they are lifeless and immobile, and and all of a sudden they come to life, right?
Absolutely.
And Rocio?
Well, for me, it's like the figurines are magic, actually. Like, but the thing that really is all like, for me, it's really important to remember is that the client does the work. It's like just give them the space to actually use their own energy to do the healing, no matter in which setting.
Yeah, fantastic. Very good. So great, a great evening, great day. Just let it sink in. Don't, just relax. And I see you tomorrow, same time, same place, for our last session together.
Wow.
So I won't be here tomorrow. So it's been a pleasure.
Oh yes, Rocio. Yes.
To be part of this training. So, and with the
Well, we
girls and
see
with you,
you,
Maya, thank you.
of course,
Yeah,
all the
we'll see you in
time.
workshops.
So the
Yeah,
workshop next week, the open workshop, then we have 2 weeks later, I think, a practice workshop,
Yes.
the training
Yeah.
gatherings, and another workshop before Christmas. And then, of course, all next year. This is your years next year, where you practicing, where you are writing your paper, and where you come, where you're repeating the modules, and where you being like an advanced trainee. Right? Okay, cool. I see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.